Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Playmakers. What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be running through some injuries that you guys should keep your eyes on heading into week 7 of the NFL season. So I'm going to go through some players who are good to go, other guys who are questionable, and then certain players who have already been ruled out. While you guys are watching this, if you're enjoying the content, you think it's helpful or informative, please just hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And then let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. You guys can ask me start sits, trade advice, any fantasy football questions, drop them down below and I'll be responding to every single person. But I'm just going to start this off with one player who's been dealing with injuries, but they are good to go come Sunday, full strength, and that is going to be A.J. Brown. This season has been a very rough start for Brown. He's dealt with that hamstring injury. Then it seemed like right when he got over that, he had like food poisoning going into last week's Monday Night Football game. But A.J. Brown is ready to go. He no longer has an injury designation, and I'm someone who's been talking about buying low on A.J. Brown, so I really think this is where we're going to start to see some big games out of him. Now let's talk about some players who are questionable going into Sunday and or Monday. Starting off with Antonio Gibson, he is still dealing with that shin injury. This has kind of been a weird situation because he's been dealing with a stress fracture in his shin, and I follow a guy on Instagram. I believe his name is Fantasy Docs. So he's basically, a real doctor who talks about NFL injuries and kind of gives the fantasy football implication for them. And he said that it was pretty strange that Gibson was playing through this injury because the whole point of a stress fracture is that you're not supposed to play through it. So I don't really know what to make about this. He could miss this game Sunday. If he does, I think J.D. McKissic probably becomes a mid-tier RB2 play, especially in this week with all the buys. The running back position is very weak. So if you are a Gibson owner and McKissic is on the waiver wire, you may just want to snag him for at least this week. The next guy here is Devontae Parker. He's missed at least a few games in a row here, dealing with a shoulder and hamstring injury. He's going to be questionable. Honestly, I wouldn't love him in my lineup even if he is healthy. Unless they go out and trade for Deshaun Watson, I'm just not really trusting Tua at quarterback. Then we have Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, both questionable with hamstring injuries. I'm expecting Sterling Shepard to play this week. He had that hamstring injury, but he was able to go last Sunday. I expect him to go again. Darius Slayton, we don't know. He's missed the last few games. And honestly, whether or not he goes, I still don't really trust him in my lineup. Tyreek Hill is still dealing with this quad issue. I have no doubts that he'll be playing Sunday. I talked about Julio Jones' teammate, A.J. Brown, earlier. Julio also still dealing with that hamstring injury. He's been dealing with it for the majority of the season, but it also seemed like he re-aggravated it on Monday Night Football. I don't really have a great read on this one. I could totally see him sitting out. I could also see him trying to give it a go. Personally, if I'm in a 12 or 10 team league, I do not feel comfortable having Julio in my lineup until we see him really put together a nice week of production. Then two guys here from the Lions, TJ Hockenson and DeAndre Swift. These guys have been on the injury report for the last few weeks. Hockenson with a knee, Swift with a groin. I think they're both going to be ready to go. They've had these designations for a while now and have been able to play through them. Allen Robinson is up next here, and he's dealing with an ankle injury. I know he's been really rough to start off the season. I do expect him to play this Sunday against the Bucs, and this could honestly be a solid game for him. We know this Bucs secondary is very banged up. They're missing Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and then they're also missing Richard Sherman this week. So 3 of their top corners are out. This could be the week for A-Rob to kind of ball out. O.J. Howard on the Bucs side is questionable with an ankle injury. I'm going to talk about Rob Gronkowski later, but Gronk has been ruled out. And so if O.J. Howard is ready to go, I do think he's kind of a suitable flex play in Gronk's absence. T.Y. Hilton dealing with a quad. I personally don't love T.Y. as a fantasy play, so whether or not he goes doesn't make a huge difference in my mind. Then we have the Monday Night Football game here with the Seahawks. Right now, Alex Collins is dealing with a groin injury. He has not logged much practice time this week. It's a little bit concerning, especially because Rashad Penny is supposed to return this Monday. He was on IR with a calf injury. It looks like he is ready to be back. So I could just see a full-on committee in this backfield. Whether or not Alex Collins is healthy, you could see Collins, DJ Dallas, and Rashad Penny all being super involved. So maybe you're thinking about starting Alex Collins, but since he does play Monday and is questionable, you may just have to go with another bench option who you know is going to be ready to go on Sunday. Also on the Seahawks, DK Metcalf is dealing with a foot injury, but I do think he should be ready to go on Monday Night Football. Then let's talk about some players who have already been ruled out. Starting off with Latavius Murray. He is dealing with an ankle injury, and I think this means that Devonta Freeman is probably the top back there in Baltimore. Do I love him in my lineup? Probably not, because you're still going to see touches given to Le'Veon Bell, potentially Tyson Williams. But if you're in a deeper league or desperate at the running back position, I think he could be a suitable play. Another guy from the Ravens here, Sammy Watkins, dealing with a thigh injury, once again out. All this really means to me is that it is Rashad Bateman's season. Can't wait to see him go out there and play in his second game. Then we have a bunch of Giants playmakers. Saquon Barkley, no surprise, out with an ankle injury. Kadarius Toney also out with an ankle injury. Tough to kind of see it. He has a few boom weeks, is looking really good while some other receivers are banged up, and then he goes down with injury. You just want to see all these guys out on the field. Same thing with Kenny Golladay, also dealing with a knee injury. So I think once again, I talked about Sterling Shepard earlier. He is a smash play in your lineup this week. I've kind of noticed on a lot of fantasy platforms, or at least a few of them, his productions always seem very low in terms of points. He is a target monster on that team, and I really like him this week. Then we have two Tampa Bay Buccaneers playmakers here. Antonio Brown ruled out with an ankle injury. This is tough. I have AB in a lot of different spots, and he was really just balling out when he was on the field. I think if you're in a deeper league, a potential pickup option or like flex play could be Tyler Johnson. He's going to be operating as the wide receiver 3 behind Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. You have Scotty Miller on IR. So I do think that's kind of Tyler Johnson's spot to lose. But with Antonio Brown out, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin just become even more solid plays. But they were probably locked into your lineup anyway. Then the other guy I mentioned him earlier, Rob Gronkowski, still dealing with that rib issue. Probably be hoping for next week against the Saints. But the Bucs have their bye after that. So they may just kind of let him rest it out and return him after the bye. And then the last player here is going to be Trey Lance. Jimmy Garoppolo will be the starter this Sunday. Trey Lance out with that knee injury. This whole 49ers team has kind of been a mess aside from Deebo Samuel. I like Trey Lance once he gets on the field, but I don't even know, once he comes back from this injury, is he going to have the job? A lot of stuff is just up in the air, but he will not be in your lineups this week. That is going to wrap it up for this injury report. If you guys enjoy the content, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thank you guys for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.